Hey everyone, welcome back to Inspired Action Life podcast. If any of you are like me, I found myself stuck, uninspired, and just not knowing what it was that I wanted to do next. I was questioning everything, saying things to myself like, there has just got to be more to this life than what I have right now. And I was refusing to settle for just another job that was just going to be a paycheck. But I just couldn't bring myself to call it an actual career. I was just going through the motions until I finally just went all in learning how to refocus and get clarity around what it was that I really did want in my life. And then this next chapter of my career. I delved into some untapped resources to really begin to create a life and a career that I always desired. A glimpse of what your next level life can look like, because you're in great company. Hi everybody, welcome back to Inspired Action Life podcast. I am your host, Karen Baldridge, and once again, I seem to have taken a leave of absence from the microphone. It always kind of is situational. Sometimes it's whatever is going on in my environment. Sometimes it is that I just don't have a very clear, message to share at that moment that would be of value. So I don't like to just hop on and just ramble about whatever, if it doesn't serve some sort of purpose for anybody who's listening in the audience. I want it to have some stability, some good content, so it is a good use of your time. Because let's face it, time is a very valuable asset, and it's something that we can't get back. So if you are going to choose to spend your time listening, then I want it to be something of value. So with that, there has been so many peaks and valleys since the last time I was on this microphone, and so many twists and turns in me, in my whole journey with not only my own career, but this podcast, and fleshing out the next edition of my event company. Up to this point, I was doing events that were more geared towards corporate leadership. And so any of the retreats and the speaking engagements I had were more towards mindset for leadership. And I love doing that. I truly do. It's just very rewarding work. And any opportunities that I got came in that space of the corporate world. But as this last year has played out, oh my gosh, it's like I don't even recognize the last year version of myself, because when you are all entirely focused on changing and up-leveling, if you are intentionally trying to do that, it is amazing the journey and the events that you will come up against so you can react to, so that you can, in fact, change and up level. And some of those events come wrapped in the package of challenges and contrast, and they're not always happy, joyful little things. Sometimes they are truly things that are difficult to climb, and they might be emotionally difficult or they might be physically difficult, but make no mistake, they are there for a reason. So mine has been kind of a basket of all types of things. But there's been a couple high remarkable points that have played out that are one of the reasons why I'm on today on the microphone doing a little catch up and sharing with you some of the information that has once again refocused my life and changed me fundamentally, quite literally at a fundamental level, and has been able to provide so much clarity around my life and around how I've even gotten up to the point in my career and in my life in general that I have, and why I've arrived there. So, excuse me. So to say that there's, just one or 2 points is probably, not calling it exactly as it is. But I will say I went when you are trying to change something in your life, there has to be some sort of an investment. There has to be an investment of your time, of your intellect, of your resources, of course. There has to be, money, resources, financial investment. There has to be an investment of any kind of work and manpower that you put towards things, especially if you're having like fitness goals, nutritional goals. There just has to be a lot of investment in food, or there always is some sort of investment, and a lot of times it does end up being financial. So 2 years ago, I joined a mastermind group that was focused on the idea of community and how all of us who came together with the thought like, hey, we had this desire or unrealized desire to really bring people together around a certain topic and to build a community, so to speak, about whatever it is, the burning topic that each of us came there to talk about. So this was called, not surprisingly, the Community Builders Podcast, or not podcast, Community Builders Mastermind. But it was a spinoff of a podcast that all of us from all around the world were listening to, this Powerhouse Women podcast. And then she offered this Community Builders Mastermind that she was going to be hosting in Phoenix. And we heard the call and decided that we were going to make the investment to come to this mastermind weekend that she was holding in Phoenix, Lindsay Schwartz, and begin to kind of flesh out our ideas for the thought of wanting to bring together a community of like-minded people, whether it was women, some weren't women, some were like legal community and supporting the legal community, some were supporting health and wellness initiatives. There was all different kinds of topics there, but the main theme was that we wanted to join, learn how to pull together and build out an authentic community. And what are the X's and O's for that? What's the business model for that? And how do you just do it? Because some of us were all still working for other people. We're working at corporate jobs, or, we were somebody who were on someone else's payroll. We didn't have our own payroll. We were literally on someone else's payroll. So that's a big leap, trying to understand how to build something from the ground up when you've never even had to pursue that kind of business acumen, So it's just a whole skill that you need some support in. And so there is an investment of like, hey, this, for whatever reason, is resonating with me. There's tons of people out there who offer business coaching. I get that. Lots of people out there who do that. Lots of people who have masterminds. But for whatever reason, this particular one spoke to me, and it was just almost like something hit inside me like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to join this. Unbeknownst to me why I would do that, because the investment was more than I had. So I didn't even have that money to invest in this, but the urge and the desire was so strong to move forward with this idea. And I thought it was crazy that there were other people out there who were literally in the same spot as me. We're working for somebody else, but we wanted to form our own group, or, maybe someday have our own mastermind, because we had done so much personal investment of time for personal development and changing our mindsets, that we wanted to share this, but all in different areas of our life. Like I said, some was a relationship coach and things like that. So there was all different sorts of representations of business that were there. So I just thought it was wild that we all had the same idea. Now, long story short, that's not the point of this story. We got together. We had our weekend a couple years ago, and it was great. And there was something very, I don't know, like I had a lot of pride in the fact that I took such a scary chance of spending money, that I did not have, in order to join this mastermind that I had no idea of anybody who was going there. It was just really kind of overwhelming and scary and way out of the box from what my personality would have been at that time, to do something so wild and kind of zany like that. And borderline from the outside, it would almost look like it was irresponsible because I had nothing. I am sorry, I don't know why. Throat chakra was blocking up on me. That's interesting that all of a sudden I'm having to clear my throat now when I was perfectly fine before I got on the mic. Anyway, just thought it was interesting that it was a little crazy for me to do that. Definitely out of the box, but something pulled me towards it. Okay, so I just thought, all right, I'm doing it. I didn't know what it was other than what I would have called at that time, like intuition or my inner guidance. And I really kind of felt like I've always had a strong version of that at that point in time. But it was just my opinion. There was no proof that I had that. I just always believed that that's something that I had. But the key here is that I didn't always use my intuition. All right, I didn't always trust it because I was always still too busy listening to other people. Well, this is how you should do it, and this is the messaging that you should use, and trying to follow the path of least resistance, trying to follow the person with the template to make this quick and easy and painless, right? So I was probably quietly still within that mindset because I'm wanting somebody to teach me something like blocking and tackling of business, which is important. You do need that. But I will wind this message up as I go and tie it in a bow, which is the most important thing. Well, I do need the acumen. The most important thing, what you need is alignment with the business itself, the business service or the offering itself, or it's never going to fly. If you're not passionate about it, and if you're not really leaning into all of the offers and you could do it like all day and love every minute of it, then you're in the wrong business. But that's something for later on in this particular episode. So anyway, I met these girls. We were at this mastermind the whole weekend. We all got along in various times. We got put in different groups, and there was just such a great synergy between all of us because we were all at the same place in our careers or our business dreams, visions, goals, whatever you want to call it, that said, hey, I want to see if I can, give this idea legs and bring it out into the world. So we had a really great time. And now, after we left, we all started to build things out, follow some of the templates and advice and good information that we got while we were at that mastermind. But then you bring it back around. So now another year has gone by and now we're in 2024. We decided, our little mastermind decided that we would have a reunion. Okay, so I'm getting very technical here as to where this little piece of information that I am now working on came from, where it originated from, this idea, not piece of information, but this idea that is really fleshing itself out as we speak in real time, that it was an idea I didn't even have in the first place. So I got it from this business mastermind little reunion that all of us girls decided we would come together and have a reunion because we all enjoyed each other, just sort of touch base, see where everyone is, maybe do some pictures and recording videos and things like that to use for social media, that we are continuing to invest in ourselves and continuing to surround ourselves or put ourselves in the vicinity and proximity of women who are doing the same thing as us and who have this up-leveled energy about them, that they aren't put in this little cage, this box where we're like, oh, well, that success is for all those other people. That's not for me. These are women who say that success is actually for me. While it's not out, it's not happened yet, it will. So it's so empowering aligning yourself with people who know there's more out there and are now dipping their toe out into reality and making it happen, bringing it together and just taking steps towards making what seemed like a dream and bring it into reality. So we all met in San Diego and had such a great time, just not only, just laughing and having fun, but really trying to share each of our skill sets with each other that we had worked on over this past year, and some unique gifts. So some of the girls had really dove into being masters at breath work and that kind of thing. So they were doing breath work situations with us. We were talking about like sound bowl stuff. Another woman who was, doing sound bowl meditations with us, which was also really so awesome and peaceful and wonderful, sharing that gift. And then some of the girls were bringing up, which is a topic that I never have really tackled, astrology and human design. Okay, so like I don't dive into that. I've never dove into that. I don't even know, all I knew was what my regular, what's your sign, and that's all the further I ever went. I had heard of human design, but I had never really understood what it is, or like I don't get it, like I did not understand what the process of human design assessments were, and I just didn't pay a lot of attention, whatever. So they did, and so they started to do all of our charts, because a couple of the girls were really into it and said, okay, so what's your chart, or what's your information? And then they said, do you know your birth time? So you can know your birth date, but a lot of these assessments are all of them are based on birth time. And so it matters when you're talking about astrology and, both astrology and human design. So ironically, I had a copy of my birth certificate with me at that time. So they plugged it into their little app and, plugged all my information and then gave me my results. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then they started to do everyone else's, and then they started to kind of interpret, well, what does that mean? Well, what are these, archetypes mean? What exactly does this tell me? What usable information? So anyway, it was like it planted a seed, and I found it interesting when they were kind of, high level, reading each other's charts, on a very high level, nothing granular or whatever. But my point is, I was supposed to cross paths with that information. I now know that to be true, because it was intriguing enough for me to take note of it and go, okay, so I'm a blah, 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 or whatever it was. I'm this. And so after I got back, and after I, did some social media and stuff with all of the footage and all of the pictures from our great trip, and just had, such a high coming off of that, because there's so much empowerment when you are with people who also believe that bigger things can and will come if you continue to point yourself in the direction of your visions and goals and put your energy towards it. And it's just something so great about that. I just cannot describe how next level, how it flips your life upside down when you are with people who understand they are not in a cage. They can make most anything they want happen. So that's why people, are these masterminds and business women's groups or men's groups or whatever, civic groups, are really important, because it's wonderful to be surrounded by people who think like you do in this one area. I'm not saying our lives are anything like each other. I'm not saying that anything else in our lives align, but in this one particular area, we are all aligned. We believe that something bigger can happen and will happen. Not only can, but will. So you can carry and you can live off of that belief for a long time. So anyway, that's the background where the seed was planted about astrology and human design. So not too long after I got that information and we got back from San Diego and whatever, was that big eclipse season, like the big, whatever solar eclipse where, during the daytime, everything went dark. Well, I was in where I lived, you could see it from where we were. So it was on our side of the country, and it was remarkable, amazing. And all of it was so just surreal that I couldn't help but dive a little deeper into what all of that was. So this is a solar eclipse in Aries or whatever it was. I think that's what it was, something like that. And so I thought, that's interesting. So I pulled up the chart that they sent me, and as I came to find out, I have some remarkable placement for Aries in my chart. Okay, I didn't know what that meant. I still don't fully know what that means, but I'm just saying it just caused me to like have that thread, that pull through thread that said, well, let me investigate this. So I started to look into it, and what is that? And then I came upon the notion of North Node and South Node on your astrology chart. And that one was like, ding, 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 ding. That's the winner. That is the one that changed the game for me, was understanding the concept of North Node and South Node. And of course, as with every good idea, when it's the right idea that you were supposed to find, more, as I call them, cosmic breadcrumbs began to fall in my path. So then I found another podcast episode, or not even found it, but one came up on a podcast that I regularly listen to talking about North Node and South Node. And I was like, oh, okay, so here's some information served up right to my table. Apparently, I am supposed to know more about this, because once you live like this and you live by feel or by intuition, whatever the word is that you want to use, it's amazing how things begin to line up for you. So it's your job to walk into the doors that open for you, or to pick up the cosmic breadcrumbs and put them in your basket. It is your job to do that. If you don't, then you will have missed something that your divine design was trying to tell you. You will miss the message. So I have learned and had learned from that point to really kind of look into it. So I got a little bit more familiar with what is the North Node and South Node and what does that mean for your life. So technically, in high level, quick, not even professional on any level explanation, is your South Node on your astrology chart is the planets and the situation that you were born into. So the life and the journey of your life and the karmic whatever circumstances that you were born into. It was not by mistake. The family that you were put into was not by mistake, is basically the bottom line that I'm trying to tell you, because you needed to find skills and develop skills to be able to survive in that particular life situation that you were given. And for me, that felt so comforting and so validating, because they were describing it. So like if your South Node is in this sign, and then to go take it a little further, in this house, you would have been, so like mine would have been South Node or whatever in Libra, in I forget which house it was. 8th house? I don't know, maybe the 8th house? Not sure. I think so. But anyway, the point is that I was born into a situation in which I would develop the skill set of basically just relying on others to think for me and to take, just make decisions for me and to provide for me and to not really formulate my own path. I would just do whatever they thought I should do, type of thing. So like I was a people pleaser, and I would just be malleable and bend to whatever information other people thought that I should be doing. The should have. You should do this and you should do that. Should is now a dirty word for me, by the way, because of that, based on what I now know. But should. You should do all these things and you should. But sometimes all the shoulds didn't align with what I actually wanted to do, but I would find myself doing what everyone else wanted me to do just to keep the peace. So I was a peacemaker. As with all Libras, even though that's not my sign, that is my South Node sign. So Libras are that balance. They're the balance scales. Makes perfect sense, because that's exactly who I was. I would just go along to get along so that I would bring peace to all situations. But the only one, ironically, who didn't have peace in being that way was me, the peacemaker, because I would take on everyone else's strong opinions and strong personalities and just do what they wanted to do, just so I didn't have to put up with the fight and contention. And then in repayment of that, I would be taken care of, so I wouldn't be rocking the boat. So not knowing any of that about myself, I just was what I thought I was. I just was the personality that I thought I was born with. But as I've come to find out, that actually is not my personality, but I thought that it was, because I was just a product of my environment. So you can see very easily how people get conditioned and get programmed. Oh my God, have we not seen the programming here, within, this last year, lots of programming coming out, lots and lots of programming. But anyway, I was one of them. I was programmed as well, but I just didn't know it, because you just are trying to get along. But then that's your South Node, so you're born into that for a reason, so that you can, it's using your innate best skills in order to survive life. But then as you midlife or so, when you start to switch, earlier midlife, like whatever, in your 40s or something, you will begin to slowly transform and turn the tide into heading into what they call your North Node, which is like a whole different person that is uncomfortable to you. In fact, it's probably something that is the opposite of what you currently were behaving like. So instead of being the peacemaker as a Libra, I was being called in a North Node. And this is just all information that I was finding out, and I just found it fascinating. So I'm repeating back to you what I found out. This isn't my interpretation as much as just the information as I read about what this was. Just to be clear, I'm not proclaiming to be any type of an expert as much as just sharing my findings with you. So I was supposed to be heading into North Node. For me, was supposed to be Aries. And Aries are a lot more independent minded, and they're a little more feisty, and they're going to fight for what they want. And they're having more of an air of independence, and they don't need for you to bless everything that they say and do. And they don't need to make everybody around them comfortable with their words and with their behaviors and with their actions and what they do and what they don't do. It's not my job for everyone around me to always be comfortable in light of the fact that I was not comfortable. So everyone else was, but I never was. So now it was supposedly at the time where I was supposed to turn and be that persona. The Aries, strong, independent, opinionated, making things happen, like in action, taking action, massive action, which was so against my very, risk-averse Libra, because I was definitely risk-averse. I always wanted these bigger things. Believe me, it was always in there somewhere, these dreams and ideas, but I thought, I can't do that because I don't have the money now, or I don't have whatever it is. And that's just being logical and shrewd in most cases. But then when you lay this cosmic picture, so to speak, on top of it, all of a sudden I started to be like, well, all along I've had those feelings of wanting to be like what this now new Aries persona that is, emerged from the shadows that I didn't know that I had. That's actually what I've always wanted to try and be. And just a lot more independent and free of everyone else's choices for my life and opinions for my life, and just really freedom, personal freedom, bodily freedom. All of those things. And I know that's a hot topic for everybody and for different reasons. Mine was, medical body freedom. You're going to, be sticking needles in me that I didn't ask for because I'm not even sick. That kind of thing kind of threw me over the edge to crazy degrees. Like, what? Oh my God, because I've always been into health and wellness and natural remedies. And so little did I know that that's probably because I was turning into this very opinionated person behind the scenes without even knowing this was happening. This was just cosmically playing out, right? But I didn't know it at the time, but that is what in fact was happening. So that was a major monster offense to me. At that point, but I didn't know why it was hitting me so hard, as opposed to a lot of other people are like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want it. But I felt viscerally pissed, enraged, oh, yeah, so against everything I believe, blah, blah, blah. And I was really viscerally affected by that, but I didn't know why at that point. I just knew, it's because of medicine. I'm the type that won't even take a Motrin unless I'm forced to. I am non-medicine girl. If there's a natural remedy, that's where I'm going first. Just always have had that interest in being that way, which would be in alignment with as I came to find out, like Virgos, which is my actual sun sign. Virgos are very into health and wellness and body health and, nutrition and all the things, supposedly. Again, not an expert, just what I found out. So then, after finding all of this out, so that was like, one big cosmic aha moment for me that I didn't even know was out there. But it explained a lot, right? So when I would look back and go, yes, I was a yes person. And oh my God, and now all the things that I want to do but make me feel uncomfortable, I don't do them because I'm too nervous and risk averse. But now this is almost like a permission slip to step into that, to that next version that I really always desired to be and to have, but I just felt like it wasn't a good, it wasn't shrewd. It wasn't being a good steward of, money and resources and all of that. And it was just crazy, it looked crazy because as a astrological signs, all of my signs are very earth signs. So I am never doing stuff that is harebrained and wacky. I'm not the, go with the flow, that type of person in terms of my decision making. It's always very calculated. So anyway, now I found all this out, and then you layered in, then what I came to find out, I started to stumble upon information about human design. And what I parsed out is this. The astrology signs that they were talking about, that I first found out about, and then information found me, right? Because I was supposed to find it. Now that I'm looking back, I was supposed to find all this information out. So just understand that I didn't pursue it. It was almost as if it pursued me. I was always supposed to know this, but the timing was never right, but now it is. So I found that out, and then I layered in the human design. So astrology is like the what and the when. So like if you look at, especially when you talk about the north nodes, the what is going on, the what you can expect to happen, and when by an astrology timeline. Okay, ish. If you choose to pursue all of the things that are in your life for your purpose, because there's a lot of people who die with their purpose still inside them. So make no mistake about that. They don't fully walk into their purpose. They don't fully walk into any of that part. They just kind of react to life until the end, instead of designing it. So, but the human design aspect is, how do I make that come about now? Now you've won me over, because, sorry, you cannot deny the validity of my past and the story that was told through what I now discovered, just astrologically. I never gave any credence to that because I am of the Christian faith, and that's not usually something that we align ourselves with. But I'm sorry, I began to open up and see like, whoa, while, it's a little hard to be trying to embrace fortune telling and, let's talk about my future and whatever. That seems still a little bit I can't do that. But I couldn't deny the validity of the story that it told of my past, you see. So that's where the credibility then began to take hold, because I couldn't deny everything that it said. It was almost like I was like this actress in this giant cosmic play and not even knowing it. And the play played out exactly as the playwright said it should. So you cannot tell me that this was not by some sort of divine design, So we always talk about God's divine plan, and this was unshakably his divine plan, because he knew exactly why he put me in the family that he put me in the order of birth that he put me in as the baby of 7 kids. And so what my experience would be quite different than what my oldest siblings' experience would be, and what my middle siblings would be. Their experience would be quite different than mine, because that's a lot of kids. And so, but then he used that based on my easy personality components that were always already there. And then I can't deny that it intrigues me that the future part of my personality, supposedly my North Node, is something that has always bubbled to the surface underneath my nice girl persona of just do what everyone else wants, do, make them happy, make sure everyone else is around you happy so you can have peace. I would prioritize peace, where my North Node does not prioritize comfort or peace. Does not at all. And there would always be that side of me, this very rebellious, extremely rebellious side of me that always just wanted to do the wrong thing instead of always doing the right thing. And so quietly, I did sort of recognize that rebellious person, or that, the person who comes in the room and said, all right, this is what we're doing, like the boss and leader, and this is what we're doing, maybe not always the best leader if they're just throwing orders around and not being, so emotionally intelligent or whatever. But I've had my emotional intelligent days, and I've had several years of being that. So it was kind of alluring, thinking of not always having to be the yes girl and not always having to comply, and instead have people comply with what I say to do, to be the boss and call the shots. Me do it, and people have to do what I do. Just wasn't in my personality or in my experience up to that point, but it was always underlying. So then human design, when that started to get into my path, it is, like I said, the how. And I am embracing this just for everything that it is. Again, I wouldn't have had nothing else lined up. But once I started to understand what all of these complicated things on this human design chart were, because when I first saw it, I was like, okay, you guys, what is all of this? Like this, there's no discernible string of knowledge that you can pull by just sitting down and looking at your chart. Unless you walk through it with somebody or you do some research to learn what it all means, you will never, ever be able to sit down in your chart and glean any of the wisdom that it has. And it has so much insane wisdom about who you are as a person. Just double click what am I saying? Double click. I mean, you could make like 8 clicks deep of every piece of information has like an additional 8, and I'm just making up that number, but a lot of clicks along with it that you could go a little deeper. Oh, now we can go a little deeper. I mean, it will tell you things, not only how you can make decisions and all the broad stuff that everyone knows that you use human design for, but it'll tell you what's your best, circumstance to sleep in, how you eat and where you should live and what kind of environment you should create and how you see others, and then what motivates you as a human, and all of these quiet little motivational things that you don't even understand. You're making decisions out of like fear. Some people make decisions out of basically like their own. Everything has gone through, they call it like personal, meaning that it's all about me, So you're innately somewhat self-absorbed and like the navel gazer type of person, because it's all about how's this going to affect me. You don't think about other people first, you only think about yourself. And that's kind of an ugly thing to read about yourself, but at least it calls it out so you have an understanding like, hey, people have always called me selfish. I'm not selfish. And then you'll look in your chart and go, oh, actually, I might be selfish. If you put any stock into what you read in your chart, you will find out like, ooh, I can be a little bit overbearing and selfish because that's actually how I was built to be that way. But that can be what they would call the negative side of your, motivation, your personal motivation. That would be the negative. And then there's a positive side like, oh, what can I do to whatever. There's like the not self theme and then the aligned theme. So that's getting way down in the details that we don't need to cover yet. The point of this is that human design can be used for every possible scenario that plays out in your life. From relationships, for instance, how did I get into the relationship that I chose for my lifetime partner? How and why did I choose that? Why did the version of me back when I was 20 choose this person? What was it about that person that spoke to me and aligned with me. And then you'll come to find out different things about yourself, like, oh, there was some enmeshment issues, there was some trauma bonding or like codependency that was going on in that version of you. And you can completely imagine that was probably me coming up as like a South Node Libra, where I'm a people pleaser. You can best believe that I had some codependency issues going on and things that I didn't even think that I had, because I always found myself to be like a trailblazer, like, oh, I'm out here living by myself and, paying for my own apartment, paid for my own college, did all the things. And I felt really independent, which I think physically I was, but that was maybe little glimmers of my newly future Aries version, kind of peeping its head out going, hey, we're here. That is actually who you are. But I didn't know it because I put her back in the box and then became the perfect partner to my partner, right? So it was my people-pleasing version that attracted my partner at that time. So you will just go back and you'll be able to lay it. At my last event, I kind of explained it like, when you were in school, you older people in my grade or age, where they would bring like an overhead projector into the classroom and they would lay down these transparencies and write on them. And then they would bring another transparency and put it on top of that transparency, so that it would fill in like the topography of a social studies lesson or something like that, and then they would lay something else on there and it would make this complete picture. Well, that's kind of how I viewed all of this new information that kept entering into my experience. Little by little were new transparencies that were laying on, because all I was aware of was the life that I had, the relationship that I had, the career path that I had, and how I was building my business. It was all very linear, and it was all very like me reacting to things or or strategizing or thinking things, not even understanding that once this new information came into my experience, who the hell knew that I literally was playing a part. I was like playing the role in this cosmic play that I did not even know was going on. But it was always meant to play out that way. Always. And then if you click down into your human design chart, there's all these numbers on either side. And the left side of your chart is numbers that indicate a subconscious version of you that you don't even know is in there, because it just is so innate. You don't even realize that that's how you operate subconsciously, because it hasn't been brought into your awareness, but it's there. And they're gates that are active, or some of them are, if they're on your chart, then they're active. And then on the right side, there's the conscious gates, meaning that you will recognize these personality traits about yourself. Sadly, one of mine is like the gate. Oh, you got to love this. And it explains freaking everything. The gate of chaos. What? Oh my gosh, really? Whatever. So that was one of my biggest and strongest gates in human design, the gate of chaos. And what that means is I have to find myself in all kinds of stressful situations so that I can learn to pull myself out and be resilient, and then share the information with other people from the troubles that I learned. And oh my God, if that is not true. That is so exactly true. I am always the counselor, but I always have to go through BS stuff. I've always had to go through all of these drama situations in order to be able to come out shining as gold and be resilient, and then be like a way shower, like show the way to other people, because it's not in their human design to have to go through all that chaos. They find the information at the right time when they need it. And I am that information, or I play that role for people. Like they will find me when they need me. And so cosmically, that was always in my design. And I hate using the word cosmically, because as a Christian, that sounds really like doesn't sound aligned. So I'm just kind of speaking, off the top of my head right now. And so that's the word I keep pulling out, but it's really not the word I want to use, but that is, just aligned. It was always divinely aligned that way. It was divinely designed that way. It was always supposed to play out that way. And I always hated my friends called me Calamity Karen, which, I've already got the worst name in the world anyway, so you might as well throw another derogatory thing on there too, because why did I end up with that stupid name? Thanks, Mom, like that must have played a role in it too, because it's such a dumb name, and it was always a dumb name to begin with, but now it's even more dumb. And so you just got to love that. But there must be a reason I was always called Calamity Karen, and now here I am. I come to find out that my biggest, most active gate was the gate of chaos. Boom! Vindication. I knew it that I wasn't just like bringing all of this drama to me. I'm not like being so logical and pragmatic as I am. It was just appalling to me that these crazy situations would find their way to me. I'm like, how is this happening? I'm so careful with every decision I make. I'm so logical and so precise about everything that I do, and very risk averse. I would never put myself out there and be like this wild, hooligan out there just making stupid decisions on purpose. But as it turns out, it doesn't matter how perfect I was in my known personality. I was always supposed to live into that gate of chaos. Is that not nuts? I mean, there's so much into that, but it was so vindicating to find this out. I just couldn't get enough. So I kept finding more and more, like, well, what do these other gates mean? Well, what is my motivation? What is my perspective? What is my energy? What is my profile? And as it does turn out, I am a 1-3 profile in human design, which would mean that I'm like an investigator. So the one part being an investigator, I investigate the hell out of everything. Perfect, makes sense, because I'm always risk averse, right? So I need to be the smartest one in the room at all times, especially if I'm going to be speaking on any particular topic. I guarantee you I've done way more research than anybody else in that room, because I won't put myself in a room if I am not the most educated on that specific topic, not overall educated, but on that particular topic. I will be the most well-read and educated person in any room that I go into if I know that that is the topic we will be discussing, because I don't want to look uninformed. I will not allow myself to BS. I'm not a BS artist, never have been, because I like to be informed and very well informed, or else I won't stick my nose out for any kind of, blowback. I just won't do it. So that makes sense that I was the 1 profile. And then the 3 profile is like what they call like the martyr. So again, that goes with that gate of chaos where I'm resilient. I always have to go through problems in order to solve them so that I can be a reference and a help to other people, like a way shower, which again, perfectly aligns with what my life experience has been. Totally 100%. So that's the kind of information that found its way as I, pulled back the curtain a little bit. It won me over because it was undeniable, completely undeniable. I couldn't deny it. So that is the type of thing that you will find in your human design chart. And I even had met with somebody last night. I've been meeting with a lot of people because even though that isn't part of my event business, I did use it as one of the speaking topics from my kickoff event from this fall, back in this year, because I'd started it 2 years ago, had chaos, of course, and now I came back and restarted it again. And because of that, doing that particular speaking segment on that, this whole thing has taken on a life of its own. It is a business I never intended to start, a business avenue or like a side shoot of my event business that I never even intended, planned, plotted, schemed, nothing. It found me. That is the way to live into your human design. And that is what will happen when you start walking into an idea that you have because you feel in your gut pulled towards it, then do it. Because even if it doesn't make logical sense, then even more double down and do it. Because you are most definitely going by intuition, by spirit-led, moving, because it's the best when it doesn't make sense, when nothing in your reality is lining up to support you taking any kind of weird step or risk toward an idea, because it's like, this is impossible. How will this ever work? Do it. Because then for sure it will work. Because if you're feeling called to do it, then you should do it. And that is the perfect example of how I was just doing this event project again, getting it up off the ground, because there was a pause in my corporate contracts of doing my corporate coaching. And I just felt like, okay, I want to take another swing of the bat back at these women's events again, because I really like I just like creating them. I like creating aha moments and interesting, fascinating content. And it doesn't all have to be mindset stuff. I love style. I love to have people teach us about, putting outfits together and maybe a capsule wardrobe and those types of things. I'm curious about everything that makes life feel very, very juicy and interesting to me, and clothes and makeup. And of course, I'm like in the health and holistic wellness. Any of those topics make life very full and juicy and satisfying to me. And in human design, it's important for my energy type, called a generator, I am a generator, to stay satisfied with my life. Because then when I'm in the state of satisfaction, then more of these little cosmic events begin to fall in my path. Such as, would have never thought I'm talking to people about their human design charts. Never, ever. I was just sharing with them some interesting aha moments I had when I looked into my human design. And then I ended up buying a course on it back in the summer, probably the spring, and then another one in the summer. And really getting really in the weeds knowledgeable, because I am the investigator, right? So I don't want to just half do anything. It has to be all the way in the pool. When I finally choose to do something, I am all the way in the pool where I will become an expert. That's just how I operate, always how I have operated. And it turns out that's my design, my 1-3 profile that fits and aligns perfectly with who I am. So I've been won over, and just sharing this information with other people has lit like a fire under this whole situation. So now it's becoming slowly and surely a business, but it's more like I love to do it. So it doesn't even feel like a business, but it's such a nice blessing to have that, to be able to help people light up, like to see like the light bulb go on and like their countenance is lifted, because everything was designed, all of their hardships, all of their everything that they have gone through was for a reason. And to be able to put some reasons and boundaries around your hurt and your pain is so validating, and it's so nourishing for your soul. I mean, it's just like so cathartic to know that my life isn't just chaotic. It was chaotic at that time for design, because God was steering me into another direction, into a position in which He actually wanted to get me to. But I had to take like little bridges to find my way into the main path, like that North Node path or whatever. And so I could just kind of see the hand of God in all of it. So if anything, even though that's not something, we typically would raise up like, as a believer or a Christian or whatever, but this for me has been, if anything, even more validating of the splendor and magnitude of the treasures of this life that are right hidden in plain sight, but most of us can't see the little Easter eggs that we are surrounded by. And it makes life even more sweet and more juicy and more complete, to be honest. So anyway, if I can just encourage you to pursue this, I would love to do it. I've done it both virtually and in person if you live near me. I would love to be able to just tell you what's in your chart. I'm not making anything. I don't have to create anything. It's all written there, and I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And it's a beautiful thing. I love that. I love that, because I can just simply do all the double clicks and tell you all the different things. It has to come in several different series, because there's so much to learn that you just want to bite off certain pieces so that you can really sit and marinate with it and then go on to the next bite. but it's so validating for you. And if you're feeling stuck or feeling so like there's got to be more, or I'm so frustrated, that's a not self theme for you generators out there. If you're frustrated, you're doing something wrong, something's not aligned. Maybe you can have an aha moment if we look at your chart and I tell you certain things that I see. It might just be that light bulb moment that you need to turn your path. Just like me being with the San Diego group, girls, and them showing me my chart. That was the light bulb I needed to then transfer everything over to the path that I'm actually supposed to be walking. So I can't encourage you enough to just consider doing this. I would love to do it for you, to be part of that journey, because that is what I'm supposed to be doing. With my dreaded gate of chaos, I'm supposed to go through all of the madness so you don't have to. Yay, lucky me. But I'm happy to be able to do something edifying with it. And it is just my strongest soul's desire to be able to do something edifying with all of this information that I've had to gain the hard way, so I can share it with you so you don't have to, or your kids. I've been doing it more for women who I want them to understand what's in their chart so they can run a chart for their kids, so that their kids don't have to go through the amount of chaos if they're not supposed to go through the chaos. Some of them are supposed to, just like I was supposed to, right? So I'm not trying to disrupt people's purpose, but just tell you what's in your chart to fix your here and now and just set you back on the right path. So I would love and be so honored to be able to help you see what's in your chart. Just interpret what's on the chart, read it, and just have your mind blown, like literally mine has been, and all the people since I started doing this, how their minds have been blown, because they have been blown, believe me. So I am loving doing this. I would love to do it for you. Please check out my website. I will list it all in the show notes. You can sign up and schedule a good time for you. And we're going to get you started on your North Node path and your divinely designed life. All right. Love to all of you. Have a great week.